If you happen to know a little bit about this channel, you should know that I am a massive fan of the Battlefield franchise. My channel near the second beginning was almost entirely based around this series, and I owe a lot of gratitude towards it. A few years ago I made a full 42-minute recap on Battlefield 1's journey from its reveal to the final content drop, which kinda hurts watching that back now. Why does it hurt? Because now we have Battlefield 5, or rather, we had it. Before we go deep on this together, I just want to say that I'm actually sponsored. Nah, not really. You would have thought Raid Shadows would have hit me up by now, but strange times. I do not take any pleasure in slandering most games because I understand that game development these days is a hard and tedious process. So every foul thing that's supposedly going to come out is not intended to shame the people behind the game. It's just my expression of disappointment. There will be an unprecedented amount of nitpicking, okay? So hopefully all of this verbal insanity that I will inevitably bring upon you all can be translated into constructive criticism so we can work together and end up with an improved product next time. We will be splitting this up into 3 segments. There will be timestamps if you wish to skip to whatever you came for, starting with features and presentation. The first time I picked up the scent to where I thought there was a potential disappointment inbound with Battlefield 5 was... oh no, it wasn't even the first, it was the second, third, fourth, fifth time, my bad, fifth time. And it was before I'd even started a match. And that was the main menu. I hate it. I hate everything about it. Now, this applies to almost all games when I say developers just need to stop overcomplicating things and just go back to being simple and clean. Well, you know, we wanted to give players a more personalized UI, you know? Look how cramped up this is. You can play a game, you can check your loadouts, you can go onto the store, we have a battle pass, challenges, and your profile. Oh yeah, did we mention that we have a battle pass in this game? You can also play a match. We also have a store you can visit. Here's a video to watch. Here's the latest news. There's actually guns in this game. Please join our cult. My god, we haven't even started a game yet.
Like, what was ever wrong with these ones? A much more relaxing, easier on the eyes piece of art that was willing to help you find your way to where you wanted to go.
This right here, this is Traffic Jam, and I want to go home. Now, all of these options in the menu have their own story to tell, and we will hear from some of them right now. We will start with Mr. Assignments. And yes, I did assume their gender, the clue is in the name.
Going back a few years now, one of my biggest complaints from the previous entry was the medal system. It was only allowing you to work on one set of challenges at a time, and some of the challenges they gave you to unlock like the new DLC weapons, oh yeah, they were awesome. I would do that all over again. Thankfully, DICE heard our feedback on this. But the little plot twist is, they didn't listen. Not only have they restored this extremely restrictive system and repetitive assignments, but they've now tied them to some of the weapon skins.
You want that sexy gold camo on your weapon?
First you'll want to get your gun to rank 10, and then you'll have to manually select a challenge, beat that challenge, which depending on your luck could take some time, and then repeat that motion between 4 to 6 times, with each new challenge being increasingly harder.
And because the game doesn't allow you to change them while you're in a match, you have no choice but to back out of the lobby and then select the next stage to then start another game to work on that next challenge. As if the game couldn't hate you any harder, when you head back to the menu, you don't even have the reward unlocked. You have to go into the armory and then watch this animation go pew, and then you have finally got your gold muzzle. Again? And that's if you even bother to complete these challenges, because some of the things that they demand of you should be classed as assault.
Kill 60 enemies while standing in a specific safe space spot when it's red. Get 10 headshots in one life. Watch 2 guys, 1 horse.
Oh! Look, you can call me a scrub by all means necessary if you want for not wanting to do these challenges. But whatever happened to just simply getting kills? I'm all for you giving us some tasks to take on. But why have they always got to take us away from contributing to our team? Get these pesky snipers sitting at the back thinking there's going to be some kill streaks at the end of this without realising that they are the kill streak. You need to give up this dream of reaching the world ranking KD leaderboards. Joseph Stalin did 20 million and 1. No one's beating that. He's spitting on all of you. You should be in the fire with the boys, dodging the bullet instead of sitting at the back wondering where you went wrong. The items you will be obtaining by playing the game are included in the Tides of War. or Battle Pass as I'll call it. The Battle Pass is a slow, repetitive grindfest. All the stuff you want is at the very end, with a little sprinkle of cool things in between. The weekly challenges they've given out, now I don't know whether this was because of the lockdown, but these rewards are absolute dog shit. Unlock an extra tier in the Battle Pass, a vest. Oh, another vest with a few extra inclusions. Unlock another Battle Pass tier, another tier, tier, again! Now I hope I'm mistaken on this because I remember a while back, the weekly challenges were actually quite good. They were giving you new weapons and new cosmetics, and the challenges were actually more achievable. They weren't reliant on these perfect scenarios.
In the Battle Pass, there are a few things that are easy on the eyes, but most of them just feel half-assed. You earn the same skins many times, but only on different weapons or different vehicles. You'll get in-game currency sometimes and haircuts. Yeah, so the first time you load into a game and see one of these around, you're thinking, who's this dipshit that hasn't brought his helmet to a full drawn-out war? Because in Battlefield 5, the more you play the game, the less experienced your character looks.
And speaking of hair and helmets and stuff like that, let's touch upon the character customization. Now, I'm not going to lie, I think DICE did a good job with keeping the uniforms in line with the word, believable. Notice how I only said uniforms, right? Shut up! No, I said I wasn't going to talk about this. Later in the life cycle, they added an in-game store for players to buy additional cosmetics with real money. Now, everybody jumped down EA's throats for this, but honestly, who cares? You know what? It's like, if you don't like it, don't buy it.
Very funny. Look, why don't you tell us how you feel towards that? We all agree you should.
You don't think when we saw the title of this video that you weren't going to discuss this?
Wait. Jordan, we had this discussion 1,000 times before. You really think you want to hear it again?
You are beating a dead horse.
I thought you said this was supposed to be a more unique perspective on this situation.
Stay true to what you promised.
To be frank, that could really spice this video up.
Oh, stop it! I'm going back to the video. Now granted, what I'm about to critique here, I'm not going to be calling this out for being bad taste. I just want to say that I hope it's not a sign of how Battlefield decides to depict itself in the future. The overblown, flashy, outlandish, Fast and Furious, Assassin's Creed 3 loading screen levels of marketing previews. Now when it comes to game trailers, there's very few games that can do it as good as Battlefield. Memorable previews like the Caspian Border trailer, the Battlefield 3 launch trailer, and basically every single one for Battlefield 1. They seem to just have this perfect mix of music, pacing, and actual in-game gameplay. Now, with Battlefield 5, they dropped the ball big time, with both its tone and personality. Obvious, the most glaring example is the reveal trailer, where there was just no direct narrative or flow. It was just super confusing the whole way through, especially for being the public's first look at the new game. It was dumb. Firestorm trailer drops. Finally we get to have a proper look at this BR mode that they've been teasing about for nearly a whole year, and it turns out to be nothing more than a good old scripted cinematic trailer. I've made a whole video about what doesn't work in these types of commercials, and the type that Battlefield 5's were solidifies those arguments. Also, the Pacific trailer. Now I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, well, that was the game's highest moment. Nope, same problem. As a spectacle, it's awesome. Now there was a little bit of goofiness thrown in there, like the pilot jumping out of his plane to block out a KI-147. Okay, I'll let that pass, alright? Then, look how far apart these guys are. All of them seem to be following the social distancing guidelines, and then in the next frame, it seems like they're all bunched up. Plus, what the hell were they doing? They all just acted like a bunch of Assassin's Creed enemy AIs, just aimlessly watching this one Japanese soldier slice them up one by one in front of them. Except for this one guy who did open fire. From what I can tell, after scaling the resolution up to the highest possible and slowing it down frame by frame, I've concluded that he was shooting at the ground. He did a full Charlie Sheen. Holy a tank! Run, my boy! Run! Run anywhere! Anywhere but in line of the tank's sight. But the most cringeworthy of them all are the intros to the elite skins. Can I get a cricket bat on the back of my head? We'll start with Wilhelm. So there's 2 German soldiers in the cathedral, one being Wilhelm. A platoon of British soldiers come up behind them and then take cover. Why didn't they just open fire in the beginning? And sure enough, this Dan Crenshaw wannabe has planted some booby traps. Now Ernest, he just casually walks into the red zone of combat to pick up his gear, casual-like, without showing a feint of panic. Whilst his buddy right next to him gets shot, and even a rocket brushes past his shoulder. That shit that Doom Guy would get called out for being ballsy. What is he doing in my Battlefield game? Finally, Misaki. Now, I've never trained for jungle warfare in my time, but in the event of an enemy potentially hiding behind a tree, is that how you approach it? Like if she is there, you're pointing the guns pretty much at each other at the same time. Who's taking the shot? How the hell did the second guy not hear her? A little game of sticks and stones. I'm liking it, can't complain. You guys looking forward to The Matrix 4? This guy was a graduate at Stormtrooper University. And he shot his own man! You know, we all call Pearl Harbor Japan's biggest mistake, but when I see just the sheer uselessness of how Battlefield 5 depicts the American soldiers, things start to make sense. Like, maybe I was just being a little bit naive. Like I said, I'll be fine with this for just a one-off. And to be fair to DICE, they've never fully stated, ever, that this would be the kind of World War II game that we expected. Aside from constantly coining that phrase immersion, or the I word as I like to call it, which is something we'll dive into a bit later as well. But based on the franchise's reputation beforehand, that's what everyone else had came to expect. Like, watch this clip. This is the final DLC for Battlefield 1, 3 months before the Battlefield 5 reveal trailer came out.
In the end, there will be no one left. We are no longer innocent. We are lost from this world. From home.
The biggest indication I think DICE can have to understand that this type of Marvel bubblegum action style just isn't the right way to go next time is based on the campaign's reception. I have yet to find a single person on this planet that didn't think The Last Tiger was not the best war story because of its mature tone. So hopefully that'll say something and make sure that they kind of go back to the more mature, serious tone. Again, I'll let you have this one, but next time, sober up. Now that we've finally got into a match, let me take you on a tour around the area we call negatives. Battlefield 5 includes its signature gunplay in glorious fashion, with improvements to the movement system, the guns feel awesome to shoot, the sound design is always tip-top. My favourite new addition was the squad score streaks, as each member of the squad combines enough points for the squad leader to call in additional support like artillery, smoke screens, and V2s. They also introduced the removal of random bullet deviation, where now bullets would be much more consistent at landing exactly where you aim. This would allow players to become much more accustomed to the behaviour of each weapon, rather than often feeling that they'd been hard done by randomised gun damage. A great idea. But then they turned around and made the TTK and the TTD faster, on par with Battlefield Hardline, which practically makes all of that emphasis on where you aim is where you shoot meaningless. If you're going to implement a system to where it's now reliant on the precise aiming that registers the correct amount of damage in all different areas, why is it then that you decide to suppress that significance by tuning the TTK down? Like, boys, I fancy having a bonfire tonight, but no one's allowed to bring lighters. This could easily add up as to why DICE constantly fiddled with the TTK throughout its entire lifespan, because they wanted to emphasize more on making your shots count, which I can't fault them for that,
But not after the community have spent a month, 6 months, a year, whatever, adapting to the system. You're not going to bring back old friends by doing that. You're going to create new enemies. Now let's talk about the I word.
What a fucking immersive. Do you have a specific way that you want players to see this battlefield?
Well, I think the best way we can describe it is immersive. I mean, this needs to feel like the most immersive battlefield that players have ever played.
It's really about giving players the most immersive world that they could enter.
All this talk about immersion that DICE tried to preach about us is extremely incompetent in Battlefield 5. Features like being able to see your character's lower half when he dives backwards, being blown backwards by an explosive shockwave, rolling back on your feet when you jump from a height, bullets being able to penetrate through houses, are all welcome changes, but they all end up being extremely insignificant to the narrative of a multiplayer match. I don't feel like they're even acknowledged by many players, they all just feel super contextual.
Now, for anyone that's played the game, let me ask you a serious question. Have you ever towed a stationary weapon on the back of a vehicle? And if you did, how did it go?
I can almost guarantee that I've missed out on some kills because I forgot that you could actually shoot through weaker pieces of cover that enemies had probably ran behind when I was shooting them. And even off the top of my head, I can never recall being killed by a player who did take advantage of that feature. The roll mechanic, originally, it was automatic. But now when you're falling from a higher distance, you will have to press the crouch button the millisecond before you come in contact with the ground, which will save you a lot more health depending on the height of the fall. But even after testing it, I noticed it was very inconsistent at registering the roll, despite me not changing my maneuverability whatsoever. Now, whatever perfect scenario you can imagine that makes this feature significant, for the last year and a half, guys, I've just taken the fall. I've lost 50 health, 75 health, whatever, and then just heal up. Same outcome. And on the way to wherever I'm going next, there'll probably be a health station nearby. So, nothing's changed. I'm alive. Again, all of these new little additions are great. I can appreciate the time that was put into them. But because the game seems to emphasize more on running and gunning, a lot of that just gets thrown away. The entire flow to your average multiplayer match in Battlefield 5 just ends up feeling like everything else you've played before. What could have given this game some new air was Firestorm and the co-op mode. The two modes that were heavily prioritized in marketing and took up a considerable amount of development time. Both aim to bring new and old vibes into the game and hopefully give it that extra boost in player engagement. So after all the talk, leaks, rumours about the mode, they finally released, and they were heavily praised for being total and utter train wrecks. Starting with Firestorm releasing in March 2019. Now, at its core, honestly, I think it had its fair share of enjoyment that the Battle Royale genre is capable of bringing. Despite 16 teams going up against each other in a World War II period makes absolutely no sense. But then again, in this game, what does?
You're not spending another minute making this presentation until you give us what we came for.
You were giving us serious blue balls here.
You know you're going to fall for this, right?
This isn't going to solve anything.
I watch you because you think differently. Don't take me for a fool.
That's what we came for.
Stay as the person that you told everyone you
Drop
were.
some truth bombs.
Stay on the path.
I am a 13-year-old daughter.
Listen to us.
The most immersive game we've ever made.
Don't you do it, son.
Accept it.
Jordan, why are you so inconsistent on uploading videos?
DICE! You slimy, little cheats! You screwed up World War II so frickin' bad to the point where it was pushed to comedy, and you even had very little knowledge of the basic facts of the conflict, and then you had the frickin' nerve to call people out that rightfully corrected you. You're all fucking cowards! Cowards! I will fire all of you!
Give me a sec, guys. Back to it. Its signature gunplay, along with those tense moments of cooperating, flanking, clutching. Upon its release, I was having a really good time with Firestorm. The only fault it really had on the gameplay side of it
was the looting. When you killed an enemy player, the loot wouldn't spread out very much. Sometimes it would go through walls and it wouldn't allow you to pick it up, and everything had to be picked up manually. Unlike in Fortnite or Warzone, you would automatically pick up ammo and armor, which helped tremendously. Here, it's kind of like playing a game of Where's Wally? And for my American viewers, that's what the rest of the world call it, by the way. When this joke popped in my head, I actually just looked this up out of curiosity, and it turns out that American publishers didn't believe Wally would resonate with American readers, so they changed it to Waldo. Like, you guys just get your own way all the time, don't you? Typical. So after its release, Firestorm would only go on to receive one major update, which I think was a new additional area to the map. But after that, dead silence. There was no mention of it at EA Play, which happened in June, and by today, you might want to consider wearing that lucky pair of underpants, or socks, if you fancy playing a match. At the time though, I'm sure EA were heavily prioritizing Apex Legends, which had released a month before Firestorm, and it was setting all kinds of records. So maybe there's a bigger story behind the scenes as to why Firestorm was abandoned the way it was and never got that longevity. But besides that, looking at it now, I honestly don't have the desire to ever go back and play it again. I think mainly just because of its basic design. I felt like it was a much less inspiring twist on the genre. With the exception of the Battlefield formula, the mode just had nothing going for it to set it apart. I think Apex and Warzone have executed their spin-offs much more successfully. Examples like giving players the chance to spawn back in for a second time, the encouragement to explore parts of the map which have like little secrets and objectives to benefit their match. Whatever unfortunate circumstances it may have been, there is no excuse for the co-op mode. Now let me just get this hairball out of my mouth right away. The co-op mode in Battlefield 5 is hands down the laziest, half-baked, effortless, piss-poor attempt at a so-called game mode I have ever experienced. I can't believe I gave modes like Halo 5's Firefight and Battlefront 2's Arcade slack when there's shit like this being wasted on my hard drive space. It's just multiplayer maps we've all played 1,000 times already, with some NPCs scattered around, and that's it. That's the grand return? Like in the build-up you were talking about Battlefield 3, which, that co-op game mode was above and beyond what Battlefield 5 spewed out. You had a mission where you partnered up in a helicopter together, you could mix it up with some stealth, push through the streets in a Humvee brigade, and my personal favourite, drop them like liquid. I have so many memories of playing missions like that one and the exfiltration mission, trying to get that achievement where you clean house without being detected. You have to count down with your buddy to simultaneously take out your 2 targets, terminating the cameras. It was just so much more of a unique experience that had replayability to it because of those challenges. And say, you know, if Battlefield 3 had dailies or weeklies to ask you to go play the co-op mode, you're damn right I would go play that thing. And it even attempted to put a little bit of a narrative behind it as well. So again, it didn't feel like checking a box. The only good thing you could say about co-op in Battlefield 5 was you were able to cheese those BS assignments we talked about earlier. So you didn't have to force yourself into a multiplayer match and then potentially in the future make a cameo on one of Logan Paul's vlogs. Seriously, you didn't have to make this. I don't understand how something again that was talked about so much from the very beginning, so much coverage given to it, it's highly anticipated, and it ended up getting about the equal amount of love as the Pope has for Rangers. For our final section here, this is going to be a little bit more basic. I just wanted to do a simple comparison between Battlefield 5 and the previous titles. So here are a few similar scenarios from Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5, completely unedited, and with your own judgment you make up what you will of the differences.
secured the sector.
Now, like I said, this isn't a big deal, but I've just brought this up because after spending a great deal of time playing Battlefield 5 for this video and going back to the previous installments for some reflection, I just ended up having this feeling that there just wasn't that same level of enthusiasm and shared love from DICE this time around when they developed Battlefield 5. Like in Battlefield 4, you had the Levolution moments, the skyscraper falling down, a ship crashing into an island, a dam that could flood the entirety of a map. You know, Battlefield 1 had the behemoths, like the Zeppelin, that would crash on any part of the map. It was never a scripted scene, it was always based on the in-game events. Still to this day, I think Battlefield 1 is in the top 3 best looking first-person games ever, and that released in 2016. And other things just like the simple basics, the atmosphere, the soldiers screaming at the top of their lungs when the next wave of attack sections opened up in operations. The go 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 command was a trench whistle for crying out loud. The games just seemed to have so much more personality. There was so much more of an expression put on the unique aspects that sets each Battlefield apart. I hope people are kind of getting this, but you know that feeling when you're playing a game and you can just feel the love and care that was given to making these experiences possible. Like I've been touching on before, in the words of Cory Barlog, all these things didn't feel like checking boxes. They were done because there was an idea behind it. And you know, Battlefield 4 and 1 aren't flawless masterpieces by any means. But when I revisited the predecessors, I couldn't help feel bruised with the expectations of where we could have gone from there instead to where we are today. In certain areas of Battlefield 5, I often questioned if they even cared at all. Small examples like the jacket for the British Recon that read on the back, "Slave for the Queen," when in reality, back in World War II, Britain had a king. When you played Breakthrough on Wake Island, they got the attacker and defender factions the wrong way round. But the most head-scratching of them all is allowing some elite soldiers to fight in theatres that they never participated in. You know, in my Doom Eternal video, I asked for the identity of the person who had the idea to put the meat hook on the super shotgun, because I wanted to give them a Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah, they should also be rewarded a throne chair and a footstool that comes in the form of the person who sat in their chair at DICE, realised that they could allow players to equip elite soldiers that didn't belong in the theatres they were fighting in, and just said, nah, forget it, I don't think people will realise. But again, what's even more confusing is then they go on to add like a neat little detail like the Goran thumb. So why is there such an inconsistent flow of the direction you're going? Now, you said this was to be the unseen, the untold stories, all that kind of bollocks, right? But I saw very little effort into passing that on. Like in Battlefield 1, you had those interesting little facts about the conflict in the loading screens, or the little narration that was playing in the operations mode that explained why they were fighting, what the sides aimed to get out of it, and what could have happened if things had gone the other way. That to me came across like you wanted people to know about it.
You seen these videos? You heard about this?
In Battlefield 5, there is not a fact in sight. Oh yeah, you did base the campaign off real events for players to learn about, but then it was quickly discovered that you fabricated the historical accuracy to the extent of a BuzzFeed blog.
That's my first train trip as a man-spreader. I just feel like a monster.
So yeah, you want some credit for that? I remember what Hugo Martin said at QuakeCon last year about his disappointment with the recent Star Wars movies. He said, once the fundamentals that shaped the originals go absent, you are no longer creating a project that is faithful to its own source material. We'll take that same sort of attitude towards Battlefield 5. Okay, it's a World War II game. I'm thinking Omaha Beach, Stalingrad, the Battle of Bulge, Battle of France, Poland, Berlin, Okinawa, Midway, El Alamein. Right?
No. No.
No, not one. The maps we get are, for the most part, casually strung together maps that do in fact have a story behind them. But I guess that's what the internet's for, right? Another thing the internet is for is to tell DICE to fix the goddamn auto balance. Like, Jesus, look at this! Like, no wonder the Germans surrendered. There was a bit of a twist here, though. We actually lost. Nah, I'm just joking, really. We beat them 687-0 in about 15 minutes. Also, one other question. Did you guys get the victory and defeat end screen soundtracks mixed up? Like, listen to this. I got a little off topic there, I apologise. So, to summarise it, and I've had 2 years to think about this, why even bother with a World War II game when you don't even commit yourself to the source material? Like, the entire appeal of playing in a game based in this conflict is making us feel like we're actually there. And if you don't even succeed at that, what's the point? And yes, we would like some alternative narratives to lesser known conflicts, but when they feel this tacked on, it would never draw any sort of interest when it feels this cheaply executed. Like, why do you think the Pacific update got received so well? Is that starting to ring some bells? But thinking about it now, and I'm sure I'm not speaking for everybody on this, but I feel like whatever intentions DICE had for telling us stories from the war that we weren't familiar with, those intentions were lost to many players after they saw the reveal trailer, and how the setting was seen to be handled. And then combine that with how they twisted the real world events in the campaign, I think there'd be very few people who would even dare open an ear for this game to teach them a little bit of quote-unquote history. Now, with everything I've just let out on my system, there are still so many other talking points I didn't get a chance to mention, like the confusing release dates, the endless bugs and glitches, the game changer program, no sign of an operating anti-cheat system. This video could have gone on for days, but in all honesty, maybe this will all be in vain. This last year and a half should really be the burden that stays with the development and publishing teams all the way to the release of the next title. And if this doesn't motivate them enough to bring their best in 2021, like, I don't know what I'll do. And again, I don't want to conclude that Battlefield 5 is a terrible game. It's not. It's just, I remember thinking after Battlefield 1, I was so excited just by the expectations as to what could have been a follow-up to such a banger like that. Setting the clocks back to 2018, I noticed a lot of other games were slowly forgetting their own identity, with their newer games looking to appeal to more of the jaded crowd. And then there was Battlefield, and during the lead up to the reveal, I was 110% convinced that this particular franchise wouldn't fall for that nonsense. It would stay true to itself, stay faithful to the fanbase that it's built up for nearly 20 years. And then it came out and it just turned out to be the same type of crap, so I was just really disappointed from that perspective. For 2021, I wouldn't say I'm excited necessarily. I've seen all these videos recently of people breaking down that 3-second clip that they showed off at EA Play this year. Guys, I don't mean to come across loudmouthed or rude, but shut up. Just shut up. I know you guys mean well, but we're like 18 months away from release, and you're already making these blind speculation videos, like predicting expectations and things you want to see in the game. That type of mindset I think is very unhealthy. Do not set expectations, because I don't want you to potentially set yourself up for disappointment. I hope you don't, but I'm just saying that's something I wouldn't put yourself through again. So my plan is to release this video, read the comments for a little bit, see what you guys have to say, and then me and the Battlefield franchise are going to take a relationship break. Kind of like what Ross and Rachel did. I don't want to hear nothing from nobody until the next reveal trailer drops, so I'm just going to let DICE be in peace and let them get to work on their newest project. We are given few chances in a lifetime to be bold, to have the courage to subvert the expectations. find unity among our players. Our chance was totally wasted. So, you've made it to the end. Well done, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I've been working on this for the last 2 months now, and it's been something I've just been dying to share with you guys, so I really hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, just a quick little thank you message, and thank you to everybody who collaborated with me on this project. Unfortunately, there was 1 or 2 people who didn't get their recordings in on time for me, and I don't know whether that was a breakdown of communication or whatnot, but regards to that, I hope everyone's doing well. And again, thank you to all those guys. Their names will be in the description if you want to go check them out. Appreciate them helping me out. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Take care of yourselves. See you soon.